Welcome to another S&P 500 analysis. Today is Christmas Eve, December 24, 2021. I hope you are enjoying a safe and a happy holiday. Last week, we saw the S&P 500 exploded back to the upside and closed with another all-time closing high after a 3.8% pullback in 3 days. And it is only 3 points or so from the all-time high. So are you ready for the upcoming move from the S&P 500? And are you preparing for a down move or for an up move? In this video, we'll look at the price action of the S&P 500 along with the other major market indexes, the market participant sentiment, and the market internal to see which direction the market might be headed. We'll also look at the 10-year yield, the US dollar, oil, silver, gold, so stay tuned. On the screen is a chart of all the major market indexes. The shaded circle here marks the all-time closing high for each index. And as you can see on Friday, the S&P 500, the only one that has its shaded circle on the rightmost location. That means the S&P 500 was the only index closed with a new all-time closing high from the last trading session. The other observation that we can make here is that looking at the Dow Jones Transportation, the Dow Jones Transportation has the longest time since it made a new all-time closing high, and the Nasdaq has the shortest. The takeaway from this index chart is the indexes are diverging from each other, and that usually leads to resynchronization. So the question is, will the index resynchronize to the upside or to the downside? Let's go and see what the market is telling us. Let's start with this weekly chart of the S&P 500. Just off the bat, we see that the weekly close is above the previous week, and it closed above the 10-week and the 40-week moving average, and it is also at the upper portion of this ascending price channel. Last week, the S&P 500 had a range of almost 210 points, and closed the week with a gain of 105 points or 2.28%. And also printed this engulfing candle that engulfed the previous 2 weeks' prices. So on a weekly basis, the trend remained to be up. Now let's go and take a look at the sentiment and the market internals. So as you can see from this daily chart here, this is the all-time high for the S&P 500. Notice that on Friday, the S&P 500 closed just beneath the all-time high, and also its intraday high is only about 3 points shy of the all-time high. And we see that after this pullback and printed this hammer candle, we saw it just basically just went straight up 3 consecutive days. And notice that the VIX, although the VIX was elevated inside of that 20 and 30 zone for about a week or so, but then it came back down and dipped back below the 20. And last Friday, it closed at 17.96. And also the put-call ratio is also down at the 0.5 location, the 0.5 area once again, and below this 0.75. So definitely the market participants are feeling much more comfortable on putting back risk on this market here. And looking at the internal, this up-down volume ratio, you could see the last 3 trading sessions, the up-down volume ratio was positive. And notice that we could see that on Tuesday, it was actually 6.5 to 1. And then on Wednesday, it was a little bit over 3 to 1. And on Thursday, it was close to 3 to 1 in favor of the up volume. And also the advanced decline was also above 2,000. On Tuesday, and on Wednesday, it was 1,600, and on Thursday, it was 1,200. So again, these 3 consecutive updates from the S&P 500 were supported by the positive breadth. Also, we're looking at the New York Stock Exchange new high, new low. We finally see the new high outnumber the new low on Thursday. There were 100 stocks made new 52-week high, and only 28 made new 52-week low. Remember, we're saying the key thing is that we are noticing the number of stock making new 52-week low been coming down. It was up over 200, and now is down to like 20, 50 level. And also the new high is pretty stable and it is starting to creep up. So that is a good sign that a lot of stock basically probably have capitulated in the recent sell-off internally. And here's a sign that told us that the market did not show much of a strength while the S&P 500 was making new closing high. So you see that the cumulative advanced decline is not climbing or not making new high. So there were a lot of stock declining in price while the S&P 500 is being pumped up by a few, large cap tech stock. And here in the Nasdaq market, we also noticed that the Nasdaq got a nice, reversal as well, similarly to the S&P 500, although it did not make a new closing high, and it is a little bit of a distance from its all-time high. Not as close at the S&P 500, which is only a little bit over 3 points away from the all-time high. But the other things you notice is the up-down volume is also positive in the last 3 trading sessions, and same with the advanced decline. The most recent rally in the Nasdaq is also supported by positive breadth. Now, although the new high, new low is not positive in the Nasdaq market, but again, we are seeing a dramatic reduction of the number of stock making new 52-week low. So that is an improvement in the Nasdaq market. And looking at the cumulative AD line, although the Nasdaq 100 did not make a new closing high, and the Nasdaq cumulative advanced decline still moving downward, but it is trying to make a recovery, trying to come up. So we just have to wait and see how much of an improvement the advanced decline will make in the near future to see what support a rebound of the Nasdaq making a new closing high. So based on the sentiment and the improvement on some of the market internal, especially from the new high, new low, and also some of the daily events in decline, we could be looking for a little bit more upside in the near term. Now let's go and take a look at the price action of the individual indexes and see what they are telling us. Now looking at this daily chart of the S&P 500, remember last week we say that we're basically looking at the possibility of pulling back to this 45.45, essentially this pivot high here. And we did see that pullback and see that immediately snap back and then just had a reversal up to the almost the all-time high here, 47, 43 area. So for the coming days, we'll see would it continue to move up and take out this high here and put in a new high. How high that will go, nobody knows. And we're basically just going to watch the price action and see. But of course, we also have a Fibonacci retracement here that might give us some hint on where it might be headed, and that would be this 48.67. But would it get to that level next week? Who knows, right? Anything is possible. But right now, for the upside, I'm basically looking at this 47.43 and then see what happens. And for the downside here, we see this gap here. Basically, looking for this to come back below the 4,700 and once again, test this 45.45. Although right now we see that it is putting a higher low and also a higher high because this right here had exceeded this high. So in this sense here, it is reversing to the uptrend. But then if we take a look at the little bigger picture here of the trend, this right here, and here is the higher low. So right now we essentially are looking for this high to get taken out. So if this could go above this level, then we essentially got a higher high. Then again, we essentially have this uptrend continue. So that's basically what I'm looking at right now. And if it reverses back down, we need to hold this low, at least hold above this low. If it breaks this trend line, then this entire, higher low, higher high formation has broken down, and we be reassessing on the downside. And for the Nasdaq, also the Nasdaq 100, we're essentially looking at a possible pullback to this 15,700 level. Essentially at this pivot high here, as you can see, it actually dipped below that. And once again, it bounced right back above this zone. and also dip below this 50% level on this particular Fibonacci retracement. So right now we're essentially looking at the possibility to see would it be able to reclaim this 127 extension, this 16,445. It has broken above this trend line here. So right now we did not see a higher low in a sense on this right here. So we're basically still waiting for this, either make a higher high, and then come back down. We still basically are looking for a higher low in order to resume a little bit of an uptrend. So right now we are watching to see would it be able to get back above this 16,445 and see would it make its way up. It could come back and do a little back test here, and that's where we're going to put in the higher low here, and then we get this higher low and a higher high. So, but on the downside, once again, we'll be watching this 15,701, this area here, and that doesn't hold, and we're basically looking at this 15,345. So keep an eye on this level here for the coming week, 16,445, and then possibly the all-time high. Now for the Russell 2000, remember we were saying that it came back down and retraced this 2134 area, essentially the bottom of this balance area. And if it stay inside of this area, then we could see it possibly get back up above this 2318. And right now it reclaimed the 2195. So we're going to see would it be able to continue to move up, making a possibly a higher low, higher high toward this 2318 level. And for the Dow Jones Transportation, the Dow Jones Transportation is still sort of into this downtrend here, trying to break above this trend line right now. So if it could stay above this 16,170, and we'd be watching this pivot level here, somewhere in this 618, retracement, somewhere around the 16,617. So we're going to see would it continue to move back up and possibly come up and test this all-time closing high at 17,039. Now, if it is unable to stay above this trend line and move back down, then once again, we're basically looking at this particular level here, 15,346 on the downside right now. And for the Dow Jones Industrial, we see the Dow Jones Industrial, kind of dip back into this balance area briefly and then reverse back out. So now we're going to be looking to see we'll be able to take out this high here and essentially come up to this trend line here, this closing high here at the 36,438. So we're going to watch this this trend line here to see what it be able to essentially get above the 36,500. If it once again, if it come back in and dip back below this 35,150, and we'd be watching this 33,800. So that would be the downside. But right now we're basically gonna have a little bit of a long, the up bias here, short-term wise, that we might see a little bit, higher level. So right now we are keeping an eye on some of the upside potential. And here for the New York Stock Exchange Composite Index, here we see that, got a little bit of a higher low and also making a little bit of a higher high. So that's a little bit of a positive sign. You can look at this as a double bottom breakout, this right here, or you could just basically looking at a higher high, higher low trend reversal here. Okay, so so those are positive price action for the New York Stock Exchange Composite, and we're essentially looking to see would it continue to make it up to this essentially to this area here, somewhere around this 17,100 area, and see what it will do here. Would it be able to move up with momentum and push it up to a new all-time high? But right now we're basically looking at some positive action here on the New York Stock Exchange Composite. But if it dipped back below this 16,708, and once again we'd be targeting this 16,094. So although we have a slight up bias right now, it could as easily reverse and move back down. So we always have to have a contingency plan on the other side. So that's why we always talk about the upside and the downside potential. And looking at the 10-year yield, we see that it is still kind of hovering inside of this 1.53 and 1.4. We're going to see would it come up to this 1.53 and make its way up toward the 1.76. So that's what we be keeping an eye on. See that it is putting a higher low, and here's the last high. So if we get up above this 15.29 and 1.53, then basically it's putting in a higher high, higher low. Then we can see next move maybe come up to this 17 area, working itself toward this 1765. But if it reverses down and dip below this 14 level, then we could see it come back down to this 1.25, and that could spell trouble for the U.S. economy, because with the Fed announcing a tapering and also 3 interest rate hike in the coming year, then if we see this 10-year yield going down, then the market must be anticipating some sort of recession in the economy. So we're back looking at this U.S. dollar here. The U.S. dollar, right now I got a weekly chart here, so we basically could take a longer look, a longer picture, a bigger picture look here. All right, so right now we essentially are looking at the U.S. dollar kind of working its way up toward this 97 area, 98 area, although it's still kind of chopping around inside near this 95.7. I'd be a little bit surprised if it come back down to this 94. I am, looking at the dollar potentially moving higher. And here on the oil, one would say, if I expect a higher dollar, why would I expect a higher oil price? Which I am, because I'm looking at this weekly chart of the crude oil. I'm looking for this thing to come back up to somewhere around this 95, 97 area, back up at this price zone. And by the way, I'm looking at the weekly price right now. Okay, so I am looking for the oil to eventually even come up and take out this 85 level. Why am I looking at the higher oil price with the higher dollar? Well, I'm looking at the inflation perspective. Although the dollar goes up, but the buying power is not keeping up. So since the, we are talking about the buying power, and a lot of the OPEC nations are pricing in their oil based on the dollar and basically the buying power of the dollar. Just because the dollar go up, and if there's inflation, that means that $1 doesn't buy that much anymore. So they need to push the oil price up. So that's why I am looking for a higher oil prices. Now here's a chart of the silver. I am beginning to like silver down here now. Remember one time I was talking about if this thing breaks down, I could be looking at this $19.60 level. Right now it seems to be hovering around this $22.70 and put in a little bit of a double bottom here. And I wouldn't be surprised that it could come up and break this $24.70 and move its way back up to near this $29.50 level. So I am getting a little bit bias on the long side. I do not have a position on silver yet, so I am kind of stalking it to see is there some opportunity here to set up a long position. And if I go in and along somewhere around this this level here near the 23 or something like that, and if it comes down to 22, I could take a stop loss and get out at 22, because basically I am playing for at least this level up here. Basically taking out of this pivot high, at least for this double bottom. And if we are talking about a double bottom move, then this right here could easily project up to this level up here somewhere. It's a good risk and reward ratio, I would say. So I am looking at silver right now. Again, I do not have a position on silver at this time. The same thing with gold. I am getting a little bit bullish on gold based on the price action. Remember this area here, okay? So you can see that this area here, look how congested right here. How many times has it been hovering at that 1804 level? So that's why I am a little bit kind of bullish on gold right now. So I am looking for possibility of taking a long position on gold as well. Same thing with like the silver. Okay, so again, essentially, I am playing for this coming up and take out this high and possibly get up to this 1923. Now there are people talking about 3,000. I'm not into that yet. Right now, I'm just focusing on see would it get up to this high and targeting 1923. Again, I do not have a position on gold. I'm just kind of stalking it right now. Now let's take a look at the ETF for the S&P 500, the SPY, and taking a look at this right now here. There's the high here, and remember there's this low volume node here, right? That's essentially this 472.87. And last week we were talking about the possibility of getting up this composite point of control, and we see the value area high get tested. As you see on Thursday, actually came back down and closed near this value area high. So for the coming week, we're going to be watching to see will this be able to come up, pick out this 472.87 and move into a new high. Okay, that would be our upside scenario. And on the downside, it's come back and test this composite point of control and essentially fill in this gap and possibly come back down to this high volume zone here for this 466.5 or so. So, and then see when we get a bounce back up, or would it continue to come back down and move down to the next a little bit of a high volume node. Right now, we are not targeting for the bounce. If we are looking for a bounce, we'll be looking at the low volume zone, because here are the little bit of a low volume zone here. So we are basically looking for potential long here, to get a bounce back up. Then these are the zones that I will be watching for. But right now, I am not looking at those zones here, because right now I'm basically looking at up here. If it come up to this 472 and make a new high and it start coming back down, that's where I'm going to go and look for a reversal down. And when I short these are the target that I want to watch. Those high volume area, those are the target that I want to keep an eye on the downside when it comes down. Okay. Now, if it decide to just come straight down, for example, if it come back down and fill this gap here, and then to see this high volume node and come up, okay, then we might be looking at this low volume node here, okay, this high here, to see would it get a rejection back down. So that would be one area that I will be looking for a rejection down. Then again, on the way down, I'd be targeting these high volume nodes. Now, looking at the QQQ, the ETF for the Nasdaq 100, basically I'm looking for a reversal on the Q. Either we're going to come up to this 399 or closer to 400 and get a reversal back down. Then I'll be looking at the potential downside move and be watching, targeting these high volume nodes. So if it continue to move up, then I'll be looking for a bounce off of the retracement, the retest of these low volume zone at this 399, and see what it bounce back up to this 401, and then from the 401 to possibly the all-time high. So that's basically what I'm looking for on these low volume zone. Downside is I'm targeting these high volume area on the short. If it come up and get rejected back down. So ultimately, we are basically looking for this thing to move back down to somewhere around this composite value area high here near this 385 area. And for the IWM, the ETF for the Russell 2000, we're looking at this sitting right in the middle of this value area, right near the point of control. Right, so, and this is somewhere around 201, 221 area. Okay, so we essentially just going to keep an eye on this, see would it get a bounce back up to this value area high. Now, I wouldn't be chasing this high volume node bounce. So, because it could chop around and could move itself down. So I would rather wait for it to either come down to the value area low or come back up to the value area high. And I'd be looking for a pullback or looking for a bounce. Essentially, you're playing the range of this balance area here. So that's basically what I'm waiting for on the IWM to see will it be able to come up to this 227 or to this 214, 215 level, coming down to that. Okay, so that is the ETF for the Russell 2000. Now let's take a look at the Emini SP500 on this market profile chart. Remember, we're still looking for this all-time high that was put in on December the 16th during Globex trading. And we want to see this 47.43 get tagged during the regular trading hour. And right now, we are still a little distant away. It settled at 47.1625 on Thursday. So in the coming week, we want to see would it be able to come up, take out this point of control and move up and take out the all-time high. Then I will be looking for a retracement back, dip back below to this Globex all-time high, then probably look for opportunity to go short and basically targeting this point of control and also these single prints and point of control, these unfinished business down here. And that's basically what I'm looking at right now. So I'm not going to chase this market up. I'm going to wait for the trade to come in to, do the pullback and clean this up here. And that's basically what I'm going to do. And essentially, I'm looking for this, this next 100 point down here between 4,700 and 4,600 on the ES. This is one huge balance area here. And when you get back in here, that's when these unfinished business is going to get cleaned up. So that's the strategy that I'm looking at right now for the near term to see how the ES will tag that all-time high. So as you can see from the internals and also the sentiment and also the price action, we are noticing some a little bit more upside bias for the coming days or for the next week or so. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the market moving a little bit higher into the end of the year here. So be on the lookout for a little bit more upside. Now, not saying that it could not come down, but it's just that right now the bias seems to be toward the upside. So just be careful and don't try to get too anxious of chasing the market or selling the market or shorting the market. So I hope you have a wonderful and a safe holiday, and be sure to smash that thumbs up to help me promote and share this video. Thank you for watching and stay safe.